Welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. My name is Michael LeBlanc, and I am your host. This podcast is produced in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. In a wide-ranging and entertaining conversation, meet two of Best Buy Canada's standout veteran retail leaders, Matt Povse, Senior Vice President of Operations, and Eric Stockner, Vice President and Category Officer for Food, Home, and Baby. Matt and Eric join me on the mic to talk about big picture trends, the current and future state of product innovation, this year's Black Friday performance, what's the point of Black Friday anyway, and what it takes to win the retail game in 2024 and beyond. Matt and Eric, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you both doing? Matt, let's start with you.
How are you? Doing great. Busy as always this time of year, as you know. But everybody's healthy, happy, and in good spirits.
Fantastic. And Matt, I should say welcome back in a way because it's the first time you and I have been on a mic like this directly, but you and I were on the big stage with Ron 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I guess, and I remember repurposed it. Yeah, I repurposed it onto the podcast. So you're kind of a repeat guest, but it's great to have you back on the mic. And Eric, welcome. Tell me how are you doing? Where are we finding you, Eric?
You are finding me in the gray city of Vancouver right now.
Fantastic.
And like Matt, doing well, surviving a pretty busy and hectic 2023, survived Black Friday and getting ready for Boxing Day.
Well, like I always say to retailers about a hectic and surviving the Black Friday holiday period, the opposite is worse. Slow and boring is not great in our world. Anyway.
True that.
Well, listen, like I said, thanks for being on. Let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about who you are and what you do for a living. Matt, let's start with you.
What do I do for a living? Father, first and foremost, grandfather. So that's a full-time job. And then there's this company called Best Buy that pays me every second Friday.
And it's been paying you for a few years now, right?
I check to make sure the check still comes in. I feel very privileged and very, very honored to be able to head up the stores, our retail teams, the store performance, the store operations, all of our Geek Squad Army and Nation across Canada, and as well as all of the things that I would say are not products. My team is responsible for membership, warranties, our service offerings, all the other things that we sell that we don't procure through vendors.
Okay, and I was not kidding. You've been around Best Buy since I guess they came. You came to Canada, yeah? Is it 20 plus years? Have I got that right?
Yeah, I joined just before the big consolidation. So I joined in 2014, but I've always been a part of the Best Buy family. I was on the vendor side before that, working with Best Buy as a partner, and then they coaxed me to come over and join the retail side, and I've been there ever since, and I've never looked back.
Well, fantastic. Now, for listeners who may not know, the consolidation was Future Shop, which was a two-brand, two-platform go-to-market, now consolidated into Best Buy. Eric, what about yourself? What's your background, and how did you find your way into the great retailer that is Best Buy Canada?
Yeah, so I've been with Best Buy. It'll be 25 years now.
Look at you two! Look at you two guys!
I know,
fantastic.
So I joined right out of school before there was even a Best Buy. I joined in 1999 when it was a Future Shop in Vancouver. And of course, Best Buy bought Future Shop in 2000. So I've been at it a while. Now, I've worked with Matt for a good part of those 25 years. Before Matt worked at Best Buy, he was my rep when I was at Future Shop. So
is that like a poacher becomes gamekeeper kind of thing, or the
we've got an awkward relationship, Eric and I.
Yes,
but it works well.
But it does work well. We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, 20 years later, you're still bringing stuff up. You should have given me that deal. We would have been better off.
He's still.
Well, that's fantastic. And you guys are clearly not paying attention to retail trends, because the retail trend is lots of turnover at the senior levels. But I think it's a characteristic of Best Buy Canada that I know, right? That there's a lot of longevity and a lot of experience. And I would say it must be a great place to work, yeah?
Absolutely.
We could talk this whole episode about just, that point, Michael. I've had the privilege, unlike, Eric, who started when he was out of school, to work for other companies, but there's no place like this one. It is, a lot of companies would say it, you've got culture, you've got, great teams, you've got, a great outlook and a great strategy and stuff, but there's something about this place that makes it really, really special. Mm-hmm. And, I think that's not only now, but it's certainly run the test of time. And there's just, it's unequivocal. Everybody agrees that Best Buy is a pretty awesome place to call home.
Well, Matt, let's not assume that everybody, of course, Best Buy would be a household name, literally and figuratively, to folks, but let's not assume they know everything about Best Buy Canada. How many stores, employees, and then I guess, the scope and scale of Best Buy overall. Give us a bit of 411 on the retailer itself.
Yeah. So, Best Buy is a North American, company based out of Minnesota, Minneapolis. In the U.S., they run around 900 plus stores. And in Canada, we run 130 plus locations. Mm-hmm. And then we also have our Best Buy mobile division, which has roughly around, I think, 28 or 30 locations, small format, mobile-centric stores, and generally in malls. We employ in Canada, it ranges obviously with seasonality from 10 to 12,000 employees across the board, from our headquarters right there through to the stores. Today more than ever, we're running different types of store formats, different styles and shapes and sizes of Best Buys, which is a bit of a step change from where we've been, which was sort of a one size fits all, the big box location in your local area. But, and then we're certainly, quite a dominant retailer in terms of online as well, with one of the top performing .ca sites in Canada.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've been in that game a long time. You've seen a lot.
Yeah, I think they were, during the Future Shop era, and then certainly when Best Buy came to Canada, we were on the forefront pioneering that space, and we've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think Future Shop was one of the first retail websites to get launched in Canada back in 98.
Yeah, I do remember I launched Hudson's Bay in 99, 2000, and you guys were already the model that we were all looking to for sure. I remember those days. I remember those fun days very well.
It's the dark ages.
It is
sure.
It is the OG days for sure. Look, it's been a pretty exciting year for retail. You've both been in retail for a long time. Eric, my perception, I'm going to start with you. My perception, rightly or wrongly, for the electronics and home industry, because you sell, of course, more than just electronics. It's kind of a reset year. I've called it the great buy forward. We all bought so much stuff for our homes because of the unusual lives we were leading during COVID. So it was kind of, we all knew it wasn't going to last. People had basically bought 2 years worth of stuff in a year. And it felt to me that manufacturers, their focus was on building and then clearing maybe too much inventory. Maybe they didn't stick the landing exactly right. And innovation wasn't at the forefront. Do you kind of, does this assessment resonate with you? And B, is it your expectation, seeing what you see, knowing what you know, that we'll have an exciting 2024 in terms of the innovation that's going to get consumers off the couch and back into the game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, unquestionably, the last 2 years or 3 years even, through the pandemic and then post-pandemic, it's just we dealt with shock after shock from supply chains and then material shortages. You're right. Everyone's focus was just on just getting through it, keeping heads above water. I think we are seeing some stabilization now. There's no question. There is a ton of innovation that's in the pipeline, that was in the pipeline. It started coming to market this year, but I think we're really going to have a chance to get back to the new normal and launch innovation, which is, by the way, what we're really good at Best Buy.
Yeah.
It's feeling like we're going to be back in our wheelhouse in a big way next year. Yeah, we've always been, about latest and greatest, first to market, and getting new innovation into customers' hands. And it's gonna feel good next year, I think, when we go after those campaigns again in a really meaningful way. It's going to be a big focus for us.
Well, you've always been such a great showcase for innovation, and without innovation, then you kind of got one hand not quite exactly tied behind your back. And now you must, these things are on a long run cycle, so you must already be seeing the innovation. And do you go down to like CES or the NRF Big Show? Like, how do you find? Obviously, the vendors find you. You're not hard to find, but how do you look for innovation? What's your process of finding the stuff that nobody else sees and that you bring to your customers and all that value that you translate in innovation?
Well, we're really privileged, because of the size of our company and who we are, that we get early access to a lot of this innovation. I just got back from a trip to Korea from, 4 or 5 weeks ago. We were over in Europe through the summer. We get an opportunity to actually sit with vendors, and not just the salespeople, but we sit with the engineers, we sit with the designers, and we get to look at the roadmaps for their product innovation and life cycle. So it's at that early stage. We might be sitting in a room with an engineer, and they're talking about what they want to bring to market 2 years from now. But that allows us to put some placeholders, in the calendar, and allows us to kind of think about, okay, well, how do we want our stores to look 2 years from now so that we can properly sell that innovation? What do we need to do to ensure that our displays are capable of communicating and showing that innovation to customers so that we can do a good job of selling it? So it starts early, and it starts often in the boardrooms of some of these suppliers and innovators. That's where we first see it. And then we get chances like at CES and at some of the trade shows and some of the other opportunities for us to get together to kind of reinforce the message and reinforce the idea. Okay, that one does make sense, or maybe now that I've seen a different version of, another vendor's iteration of how they solve a particular problem, maybe that innovation is better and we can start to change tack a little bit. Now, but it does start early.
Yeah, let's talk about the other side of that equation. So everybody's pitching you everything because you're Best Buy. As a merchant, how do you triangulate there's probably more choice than you have to offer. Of course, the website offers, endless aisles, but it's an 80-20 game. How do you figure out as a merchant, how do you triangulate what you think Canadian consumers want or may think or may want with all the things you've seen?
Yeah.
And, you got to make some priority decisions. Something's got to be a priority or nothing is. You know what I mean? How do you think about that?
Well, that's awesome. And I think that's where, you just got to put your consumer hat on for a little while. And sometimes we don't do enough of that. But at the end of the day, we're all consumers. We're human beings. We need products. I need and use products the same as our customers do. And you're right. Like as Best Buy, we get pitched so much by so many.
Right.
And often just because an engineer can do something, that doesn't mean that a consumer is going to want it.
Metaverse.
And we see so many examples of vendors, manufacturers bringing things to market that are really cool, but don't really have a good practical use. And so we've got to filter a lot of that out. And to be totally honest, it's just putting on that customer hat, thinking of myself as a customer or the buyers that we have, just, human first, customer first approach. You can weed a lot of that out. And that's where gut really comes into play with buying. If you've got a good gut feel that this is going to make sense for a customer, go after it. But if it's not feeling right, if you just, what is, really what problem we're trying to solve here? If you can't answer that question, then just move on.
Yeah. Kind of the art and science of retail as it's often described in the art and science of merchandising. Matt, let's talk about, let's take a step, let's change track, take a step back and broaden the aperture of the lens. What kind of changes have you perceived in, not necessarily in retail itself, but mostly about post-COVID consumers? I mean, I've got to think work from home has been, both a positive and a negative for someone who sells a lot of productivity products. Are people shopping more closer to home? I've heard retailers say, listen, the downtown locations are a little draggy because, a couple of days a week people are from home, but we're making it up in the rural or urban, I should say, locations and e-commerce. Just give me a sense of what for you has changed as an operator after, post-COVID, after the COVID era and the world we live in today.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I think the fact that we're years afterwards almost and we're still talking about a post-COVID world says a lot about the time because there still is certainly impacts that we're feeling today coming through that era. But, I think during the pandemic, it was very easy to believe, especially for omnichannel retailers, that consumers were going to and had to migrate to a digital mindset, digital first attitude, shopping, engaging, relating, researching, procuring, all that stuff through a digital venue, as it were. And then that would stick post-COVID. And what I think we're finding very interesting is that, we certainly saw that first and foremost, as Best Buy, as a technology destination, the first thing we were shocked by was just, how in demand our products and we were through that era. And it really shifted our mindset to kind of coming to realize that technology is no longer just this desirable want. It's a fundamental human need. That's the shift that's taking hold. It's hard to imagine consumers at large living a life without technology. And so that creates a sort of an awareness and a reflection that says we've got to take this even more seriously than we ever have. And so our problem isn't necessarily the demand for the products that we sell. But what we're seeing, and you've seen this before, retailers often segment customers based on what they buy, or what their ability to buy is. How much money do they earn? What demographic do they come in, and so forth. And we're kind of shifting that thinking now. We're seeing, obviously, with the migration of work from home, that's been a huge migration. We play in the span of business to business and direct to consumer. So we've got a view on both of those realms. And what we're seeing is it's not as much about what they're buying. Certainly, we matter. Certainly, COVID kicked up sort of juiced the refreshment cycle. I think 2 years, 3 years later, we're going to see a lot of customers who bought products during COVID are going to be looking to upgrade those products. So we get the benefit of a new refresh cycle upon us. But I think back to the segmentation, we think about customers a little differently in terms of not what they want to buy per se, but how they want to shop. And we're seeing very distinct segments in our population of customers that are choosing to shop a certain way. They're the ones that are digital first. They like the convenience of online. They already know what they want to buy. They may still well choose to come to a store, either to validate their research. Maybe they need an extra level of service that isn't offered online, or they just want it right away. It's the fastest way to get your product. There's another segment of customers who are still quite ready to walk in and want the help of an expert. And we get to play in both of those realms. And then the one thing that we've also noticed is just the attitude of customers in terms of, I love my technology, but I just want it to work. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to set it up. I don't want all of the hassle. I just want it to do what it's designed to do. And we've got the services arm to help there too. And then the last thing I would say is, it's not, obviously we use technology for very different things. Some of us need stuff to work, like we're doing right now. I've got a camera, I've got a home office set up. But there's a lot of energy and inertia going into technology that helps people connect with other people. And we see this alive and well in our mobile business. And we see this really alive and well in anything that would be considered gaming, connectivity to that whole, meta realm, as it were. And, we often think about gaming as just as a form of entertainment, but it's actually more than anything. If you talk to gamers, it's a form of connectivity. It's how they stay in touch with their friends. It's how they socialize from the comfort of their home. And we're just seeing that business take off. And so it buried in gaming, which is, again, perceived as entertainment in a post-COVID world where we got used to being at home, but staying connected to people around us. We're seeing these categories really, really do well and carry through.
Let's talk about holiday. Let's talk about the now. We've talked to these big picture things, but how does it all come together? And how was Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the first kind of leg of the big marathon? And what did you see? And I've heard and perceived. I talked to a lot of retailers writing the retail conditions report, and we're seeing data coming out of everybody and anybody from Moneris to RBC saying up, down, and sideways. What was your experience? What was hot and what was not? And were consumers swinging the door and clicking the mouse? Give me all the 411. What happened?
Oh, in a word, meh. I think it's just that kind of a Black Friday. And here's the thing with Black Friday. Okay, so yeah, we had an okay Black Friday. It was decent.
Would you say met, exceed, or fall short of expectations?
I say meh, falls short of slightly short of expectations.
Okay.
But we know it's soft out there, and I think the thing with Black Friday is, and as a retailer, we've kind of created this monster. Although it's kind of a toothless monster. Like, it feels to me like what was a very defined event is now a very amorphous kind of shopping period. It's not exciting anymore, right? Customers are confused.
It's hard to make it exciting. It's hard to make it exciting, right?
Well, now it doesn't really have a true beginning. It kind of starts somewhere mid-October. And it carries through to November. It doesn't really have a true end. It kind of ends somewhere in early December. And what's missing, and this, again, it's no fault. This isn't the fault of Best Buy. It's not the fault of retail, but it's kind of what we talked about the pandemic. What happened during the pandemic is we suddenly didn't want customers lining up outside of our stores.
Sure,
we didn't want mass, hordes of customers stampeding to get deals. So we stopped doing the door crashers, and we stopped doing the big we stopped creating urgency. And we've created this, as I said, this sort of shopping period, not an event, not an exciting thing to do, but just this period of shopping. And so it's taken a lot of the excitement out of what is, should be a very exciting period. So that's kind of why I say meh. I mean, we hit, largely we hit our targets, and, we get through it. It's just, if you've been in retail 25 years, there's something about retail that you love, the excitement. You love the lineups. You love the door crashers. You love seeing customers get excited, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what's happened with Black Friday. Now, there's kind of a silver lining to all of this. As far as I'm concerned, we're lucky in Canada because we still have this great event that's sort of a Canadian event called Boxing Day, right? And Boxing Day does have a hard start. It's the day after Christmas. And so,
and a hard end too, like December 31, like January, pretty much, unless I remember one year there's some bad weather. Everybody extended it a bit in Southern Ontario, but more or less it's a very defined period. Okay. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You and I have been in the industry the same amount of time. I remember, as I'm sure you both do, a time when there was no Black Friday in Canada, right? Now we would kind of pine for something to kick off the event. But over the course of time, right, for a whole bunch of reasons, we adopted, and everybody as an industry adopted Black Friday. Could we put the toothpaste back in the tube? Like, could we all say together, not of course all together, because that would be illegal, but could we all say, because America, if you look at what happened in America, right, a lot of retailers got together and said, we're not going to open on Thanksgiving anymore because we want to give our people a break. We don't think it's the right thing to do for families. That started with like the Patagonias of the world, but then pretty much everybody accepted it, right? E-commerce, of course, helped. Could we, as an industry, because I think, do you agree, or would you agree, that Black Friday doesn't really increase your annual sales. It just moves it around a bit. You get a big lull before the day. You get a trough of death after the day. And as you're saying, it's kind of like done its time. Like, do these things have to go on forever? Can we start backing away, walk back Black Friday?
Ooh. I personally believe the genie's out of the bottle, and I think it's going to morph into whatever, consumers want it to morph into. It's not the same. So, as we've just talked about, Black Friday is not the same as it was when we kind of launched it in Canada 10 years ago, or whenever it was. And you've got to remember that it's just an artificial thing in Canada anyways, because we don't even have Thanksgiving, here in November.
Can we just cancel it? Like, can we just cancel?
I think
we love Boxing Day. That's our event. Everybody else do what you want. We love our event, and you know what? It's actually good for retail because you get to blow out stuff.
I think there's a couple things to say. You also have to remember, as Canadians, we pay a lot of attention to what goes on in the U.S., whether it's politics or current events and pop culture and so forth. But when the dollar is at par, Black Friday is very material. The deals in the U.S. are things that we've never seen before here in Canada. I think we forget, though, that I think now for the past 5, 6, 7 years, the dollar has not been at par. And so we don't pay as much attention to the U.S. as, sales.
Right. People aren't lining up at the borders the way they used to.
That's right. And but to echo Eric, I do think the genie's out of the bottle. And one of the things that we're seeing is that in a post-COVID world, we're seeing where retailers were forced to spread out, that key event, that Black Friday event, is across as many weeks as possible in the pursuit of safety for people. Our general memory of things is coming back to reality. I think over the last 2 years, we're starting to see, people's sentiments migrate back towards the Black Friday day, not exactly to the day, but again, to Eric's point, we haven't really played that promotional game where there is a one-day offer that is so crazy you have to go and put a sleeping bag out in front of one of our stores in order to get it, so to speak. And so that level of excitement and urgency and fanfare is not in the system right now. But as we all know, this business is interesting. It takes one person to move their pawn forward.
Yeah,
or one
you're big enough. You're big enough to create that. You be the change. That's like a Star Trek episode. You guys be the change.
Writing it down. That sounds like an invitation.
It starts right here, right now, in the Voice of Retail podcast with Mike.
But as a business, though, it's really important to say: is this actually? I think you're asking a really important question. Is it a good thing that we get to take some pressure off the system? Because at the end of the day, those big days, when they're huge as they used to be, it puts an enormous strain on people. Yeah. Customers and employees alike.
Supply chain,
there's a second order benefit of actually spreading out the sales across the board. So everybody gets kind of the same deal, and we make it a little easier to manage for everybody.
Eric, what's it going to take to, moving on to 2024, what's it going to take to win for retailers in 2024 and I'll focus on the product side, but I do think there's been a real drag on innovation. I think people are spending money on Taylor Swift concerts in Vancouver, not on other things. And listen, I spent a bunch of years at Black & Decker, and we made power drills that lasted a lifetime, and we knew that you had to do something different to get somebody to set aside a working product to take a new one, and that something different was innovation, right? So how are you feeling about 2024? You've kind of foreshadowed a little bit, and can you give us any clues about products you're particularly excited about?
Thinking just about 2024 and what's it going to take to win, I think that's, we're getting back to basics in retail, right? And, my favorite expression is retail is a game of inches, right? Like there's never one big silver bullet. It's going to be the cumulative effort of all the little things that you do right. And that's where Matt and his team and the store teams are really making the difference for us at Best Buy. Because we are, when you think about our stores and you think about the investments we make in the stores and the blue shirts in the stores, That to me is where we're going to be winning. And that's how you win in retail, is that final moment when the customer's in the store and they're about to make a purchase decision, and you can give them that extra bit of service. You can give them that extra experience, in the way that they interact with some of the merchandise we have in the store and the displays we have. I think what it's going to take to win in retail is to meet customers at that level and make sure you convert that sale at that time. We've invested heavily in our stores over the last couple of years, and we're going to continue to invest heavily in the stores. Because that is where the customers, at the end of the day, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so the level of interactivity of our displays, is really important. So what we're working with our vendors on now is making sure that they've got the right displays, that the displays are working, that they're engaging, and that customers, can use them to understand the technology that they're buying. And so for me, it's the stores are going to be the biggest differentiator for us, I think, in the years ahead. Mm-hmm. Not to diminish the fact that as Matt had previously said, that the digital sphere is what's really allowed us to grow and win in the market through the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But that omnichannel environment that we've worked so hard on is really going to pay off for us, I think, in 2024.
Matt, last question for you. When you and I were together on the stage, we were talking about how happy you were with the marketplace and how that was functioning. Let's talk about Best Buy Ads, so the retail media network stuff. I don't know if that falls under your purview, but certainly Best Buy and Best Buy Canada is a leader in getting into the retail media game. Any comments and thoughts on, some big, huge numbers thrown out, like Dr. Evil size, billions and billions.
Yeah, I'm holding my pinky up to my mouth right now.
If you believe 10% of that number, things look pretty good, but we all know it's not going to be that easy. But again, you guys are out front of it. Any comments on the retail media network prospects?
Yeah. I mean, it's part of a digital push. So, I mean, just to build on what Eric was saying, and they tie together nicely. If you just take a step back and follow the dollars, where is this company investing? We've got, our single biggest expense lines in our organization would be, the cost of our store infrastructure. I mean, that's obvious. And we continue to see investments in those stores, new store formats, and the investment in the existing stores, so that we put our best foot forward, not just on our behalf, but on behalf of all of the many vendors that we do business, brands that we do business with, who invest billions of dollars in R&D on their products and keep this thing moving. The second line is talent and people and, service agents and that whole notion. But right up there is a top investment for our organization is technology. Absolutely, unequivocally, we are technology forward, and we are investing in data lakes, oceans, skies, clouds, whatever you want to call them, and all in the pursuit of really being able to know our customers, not en masse, but personally. And so that, to Eric's point, when they walk into a store, they're getting a level of experience that is unique to them. And that's really where stores meet data, meet omnichannel. It all comes together in some sort of fashion where the customer is in total control. They get to decide what they want, where they want, how they want it. And they believe that that's how they're treated no matter which realm they step foot in. Mm-hmm. And so that's our ambition. That's what 2024 unlocks for us. We're making huge leaps and bounds there. And, the Best Buy Ads platform is just but one component of that, which just basically exemplifies that we've got huge traffic on our .ca platforms. Mm-hmm. We've got huge traffic in our stores and screens galore. And, we don't have enough content to push against that. So let's invite others to participate on those railway tracks, as it were, and, present something to the customer, no matter where they're shopping with us. And it's, I think we just kicked it off in a meaningful way this year, and it's blowing away our expectations. So
fantastic!
We're really happy with that too.
Well, you got a whole new set of competitors, right? You're competing with the platforms for all those brand dollars. So good luck. I want to touch base with you. I'm asking everybody about this question, but thanks for giving us that perspective. All right. Well, listen, it's been a fantastic conversation. Matt, if people want to, you're a LinkedIn person, if people want to get in touch learn more, how do we get in touch?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great platform for that. I'm there, I'm available, and I poke my head in every single day.
Fantastic. Eric, what about you? If there's a vendor who somehow hasn't got your contact information yet, or perhaps they have something else that you listen.
I can give you Eric's home address if you need.
I was going to say, reach out to Matt.
Let's dock you right here. Are you a LinkedIn guy, Eric, or what's the best way to get in touch?
Yes, I'm a LinkedIn guy. I may not be checking it daily, but I'm in there.
All right, fantastic. Well, gentlemen, it's been a real treat chatting with you. Congratulations on all your success, and I wish you continued success. Thanks for joining me on the pod, and I wish you and your families a great holiday and an exciting 2024 for all of us.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Michael. It was fun.
Yeah, nice to be with you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, follow on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically each week. And be sure and check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast with Steve Dennis and the Global E-Commerce Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, Senior Retail Advisor, Keynote Speaker, Rethink Retail 2023 Global Top Retail Influencer. If you want more content or chat, follow me on LinkedIn. Safe travels, everyone.